research. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to do research. A college research assignment asks you to pose questions worth exploring. Read widely in search of possible answers. Interpret what you read. Draw reasoned conclusions and support those conclusions with evidence. In short, doing research asks you to enter a research conversation by being in conversation with other writers and thinkers who have explored and studied your topic. As you listen and learn from the voices already in the knowledge field or conversation, you'll find entry points where you can add your own insights and ideas. This is the very nature of research. Thinking like a researcher. Keep an open mind throughout the research process and enjoy the detective work of finding answers to questions that matter to you. Take time to find out what has been written about your topic and what's missing from the research conversation. You can stay organized by planning the search with a solid research question in mind and maintaining accurate records of the sources you consult. When you start on a research project, you need to understand the assignment, choose a direction, and ask questions about your topic. The following tips will help you manage the beginning phase of research. When you receive your assignment, set realistic schedule of deadlines. Think how much time it might take for each step of your project. Create a calendar of all the different steps to your research. As you consider a possible research topic, set aside some time to learn what people are saying about it by reading sources on the web or in library resources. Ask yourself questions such as these. What aspects of the topic are generating the most debate? Why and how are people disagreeing? Which arguments and approaches seem to be worth exploring? Once you have an aerial view of the topic and are familiar with some of the existing research, you can zoom in closer to examine subtopics and debates that look interesting. Keeping a research log. Research is a process. As your topic evolves, you may find yourself asking new questions that require you to create a new search strategy, find additional sources, or revise your initial assumptions. A research log, like a notebook or a set of digital files, helps you maintain orderly records of the sources you read and your ideas about those sources. Keeping an accurate source trail and working bibliography and separating your own insights from those sources will help you become a responsible researcher. First thing you do, ask questions. Every research project starts with questions. Working within the guidelines of your assignment, come up with a few preliminary questions that seem to be worth researching. Questions that you are interested in exploring, that you feel would engage your audience, about which there is substantial debate. You might try using journalist questions, who, what, where, when, how, to help you answer a research question. As you think about research questions, choose those that are focused, not too broad, challenging, not just factual, and grounded, not too speculative. If your initial question is too broad, given the length of the paper, look for ways to restrict your focus. Your research paper will be much more interesting to both you and your audience if you base it on an intellectually challenging line of inquiry. Avoid factual questions that fail to provoke thought or engage readers in a debate. Such questions lead to reports or a list of facts, not to research arguments. So when you choose a research question, choose a question that readers can agree or disagree on. You will need to address a factual question in the course of answering a more challenging one. Make sure your research question is grounded and not too speculative. Testing a research question. Explore your topic from multiple perspectives. You might find that your research leads you in unexpected directions and challenges your assumptions. As your ideas evolve, keep testing your research question. Does the question allow you to enter into a research conversation that you care about? Is the question flexible enough to allow for many possible answers? Can you show your audience why the question needs to be asked? So when you ask a college research project asks you to be in conversation with writers and researchers who have studied your topic, responding to their ideas and arguments and contributing your own insights to move the conversation forward. So as you ask your preliminary research questions, you might wonder where or how to step into a research conversation. Identify the experts and ideas in the conversation. Who are the major writers and most influential people researching your topic? What are their credentials? What is missing from the conversation? What are the gaps in existing research? Map out a search strategy. Before you search for sources, think about what kind of sources will be appropriate for your project. Considering the kinds of sources you need will help you develop a research strategy, a systematic plan for locating sources. To create an effective search strategy for your research question, consult a reference librarian and study your library's website for an overview of available sources. No single search strategy works for every topic. For some topics, it may be useful to search for information in newspapers, government publications, and websites. For others, the best sources might be found in scholarly journals and book research reports from think tanks and specialized reference works. Still, other topics might be enhanced by field research, interviews, surveys, or observation. With the help of a librarian, each of the students whose research essays appear in this handbook constructed a search strategy appropriate for his or her research question. And one more thing I want to add. Do not use ChatGPT for your research sources because ChatGPT hallucinates and makes up sources that do not exist. And if you're caught giving a fictitious source in the real world, you will get sued, you will get expelled. If you're a lawyer, your case will be thrown out of court and you will be the laughingstock of your career, of your profession. You'll be remembered for being the lawyer that believed in ChatGPT. Ha ha ha, says the other lawyers. And so we don't want to rely on ChatGPT 3.5 for our research. There are some AI and chatbots that you can use for research, but it's not ChatGPT 3.5. And so they have come out with new bots called LegalBot. And so you have to look it up. But all I know is ChatGPT 3.5 cannot be relied on for reliable research. That's all I have to say about it. And so here you have examples of all these different students who use different research search strategies. So Sophia Harba, she used websites to locate current news, government publications, and information from organizations that focus on issues. She checked a library database, and she checked a library catalog. April Wong, for her paper, she looked at Google Scholar. Now, Google Scholar is a great source for scholarly sources. You can listen to TED Talks. You can she searched specialized databases. And so when you go to your online library, you will find databases related to your topic. And so you still have to do your research the old-fashioned way. You go to your online library, you do Google Scholar, and you don't use Wikipedia, just like we don't use ChatGPT 3.5 for our research, for different reasons. So you'd have to so this guy named Ned Bishop, he also was a student, he looked at books in a physical library. Then he went and looked at scholarly articles by searching a database. Then he looked at newspaper articles from 1864. And so use your sources responsibly, and you can make a log to record information for every source you read or view, so you can keep track of what you did. And so you want to search so most students use a combination of library databases and the web in their research. The website, so using a library, And so you can use your college library and its library links to databases, and then these databases will contain references, articles, studies, and reports from scholarly journals and other sources written by the key researchers debating your topic. Use your library resources designed for academic researchers to find the most authoritative sources for your project. Many libraries offer one-on-one help from research librarians who can tell you what resources are available and who can suggest ways to refine your keywords to narrow your search. And when you use the web, when conducting searches, use terms that are as specific as possible. The keywords you use will determine the quality of the results you see. You can refine your search by date or by domain. For example, AutismSite.gov will search for information about autism on government websites. Use clues in what you find, such as organizations or government agencies that seem particularly informative to refine your search. Using bibliographies and citations. Scholarly books and articles list the works the author has cited. So if you look at an article, and at the end of the article you're going to find references, you can use that article's references as more research for you to do. So that's why research can be endless. And so here is what an example of check URLs for clues about sponsorship. So here from this URL, you can figure out that the sponsorship was from Virginia EDU. So you can go to the Virginia EDU online library for more sources. That's how you figure out, and that's what research is. It's like detective work. And then you find yourself at the University of Virginia Library because you saw the Virginia EDU. And then so she took herself to the University of Virginia Library and consulted a librarian there for more. So here she looked at a website. She said she put in Huckleberry Finn. And then she found that in the domain web address, it said virginia.edu. So she knew to go to the University of Virginia for more information. So you can use the domain address for clues for more research. Tips for smart searching. If you need information, news outlets such as the New York Times, BBC, think tanks, and government agencies may provide appropriate sources for your research. When using Google, limit search to the most recent year, month, week, or day. For authority, keep an eye out for experts being cited in sources you examine. Following the trail of citations may lead you to sources by those experts or the organizations they represent that may be even more helpful. For scholarship, use a library database to look for reports of original scholarly research written by the people who conduct it. Read the abstract of a long article or the article's introductory paragraphs and conclusion to see if the source is worth further investigation. For context, books provide context that articles cannot. You may find a single chapter or even a few pages are just enough to gain a deeper perspective. Primary sources may be required. In historical research, a primary source is one that originated in the historical period under discussion, or is a first-hand account from a witness. And for instance, if you wanted to learn about the Civil War, you would study Abraham Lincoln's diaries, and he wrote about what he saw. So a diary of that historical event, that is an example of a primary source. Primary meaning first-hand accounts. Second-hand accounts is if I, Professor H, were to write a book about Abraham Lincoln. So obviously, living in 2024, I wouldn't have been alive during Civil War. So anything I write about the Civil War, about Abraham Lincoln, would be a secondary source. But Abraham Lincoln was alive during the Civil War, so he would be the primary source. That's the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. And always make sure you use peer-reviewed sources. That means that someone has reviewed it and say that's a reliable source. So you might start So go beyond a Google search. You might start with Google to gain an overview of your topic, but it's better to go to Google Scholar and to go to authoritative sources in your online library. And then ask your online librarian for all of these. You could ask the librarian, what is the research that's been done on the subject? You can ask the librarian to help you generate keywords to focus your search. You can ask the librarian to help you search discipline-specific databases available through your school library. When I was doing my research for my thesis statement, I lived at the physical library, and I depended on the librarian to help me find where everything was. That's before internet. You actually had to go to a physical library to do your research. Conduct field research if appropriate. Your own field research can enhance or be the focus of a writing project. For a composition class, you might want to interview a local politician about a current issue, such as the initiation of a bike share program. For a sociology class, you might decide to conduct a survey about campus trends in community service. Colleges and universities often require researchers to submit projects to an Institutional Review Board, IRB, if the research involves human subjects outside a classroom setting. So before administering a survey or conducting other field work, check with your instructor to see whether IRB approval is required. Interviews. Interviews can often shed new light on a topic. Look for an expert who has first-hand knowledge of the subject, or seek out someone whose personal experience and expertise provide a valuable perspective. When asking for an interview, be clear about who you are, what the purpose of the interview is, and how you would prefer to conduct it by email, over the phone, or in person. Ask questions that lead to facts, anecdotes, and opinions that will add a meaningful dimension to your paper. When quoting your source, be accurate. Do not change the meaning of your interviewee's words or take them out of context. To ensure accuracy, you might ask permission to record the interview or conduct it by email. For some topics, you might find it useful to survey opinions through written questionnaires. Your first-hand visit to and observations of significant places, people, or events can enhance a paper in a variety of discipline. And then you can write a research proposal, and you can write a research proposal for a conference. And that would make your research paper even more for real-world application. You could have a research question. So when you do research, think about the research question. Think about the research conversation. What have you learned so far? Search strategy. How are you going to research your paper? Research challenges. What challenges did you encounter as you researched your paper? And in my case, I had to go to a physical library and spend hours finding a source. That was one of them. So that's it for thinking like a researcher. So if you have any questions, you can always email me anytime. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel.